But the reason, as I was saying, that came to Ireland first, or the High Cotton contact first, was because of a song called Kilkelly Ireland. And it's a song based in the parish of Kilmavee, which is probably about half an hour or so from here, maybe a little more. And the story goes that a man died near Washington, D.C. I mentioned Annandale there a while ago, where my friend lived that queried the Good Friday Masses here for 800 years. This man died near Washington, D.C., and when his family went to, as I understand it, to clear out his possessions, they came across quite a substantial bundle of letters tied together. And I'm imagining this now. I'm imagining them being quite a substantial bunch tied together with a ribbon or with cord or whatever it was, and they were there, and they found this bundle of things. I wondered what they were, and they untied it. Again, in my imagination, they untied it and began to read what it was. And what it was 30 years of letters written from a man in Kilkelly, in the parish of Kilmavee, to his son in America. 30 years. And they read through these letters, and the letters are online. I have a link to them on a blog I have myself. They're on the actual original letters. But I suppose these two men, the two grandsons, Peter Jones and his brother, his first name escapes me, they were musical people, like yourselves. And they read these letters and they were moved by them. As I was saying about that man with that piece of paper folded in the inside pocket. There's so much can be captured on a page. They were moved by them, and they were musical, and I suppose they used a bit of poetic license, and they crafted them into a song, put a very simple melody to it, and crafted it into a song, and I suppose took poetic license, that maybe they changed little bits and pieces here and there, but the thrust of it is, as was mentioned there, a father writing to his son. And the letters, as I spanned 30 years, and it's quite a powerful and quite a moving song. So we'll have a go at it, and might just have a word then, if that's okay. Kilkelly Ireland, 1860, my dear and loving son John. Your good friend, the schoolmaster, Pat McNamara, so good as to write these words down. Your brothers have all gone to find work in England, house and so empty and sad. The crop of potatoes is sorely infected, a third to a half of them bad. And your sister Bridget and Patrick O'Donnell going to be married in June. Your mother says not to work on the railway and be sure to come on home soon. Kilkelly Ireland, 1870, my dear and loving son John. Hello to your missus and your 4 children, oh, may they grow healthy and strong. Michael has gotten a bitting of bother, I suppose he never will learn. Because of the dampness, there's no turf to speak of, and now we have nothing to burn. Bridget is happy you named a child for her, though she's got 6 of her own. You say you found work, but you don't say what kind or when you'll be coming home. Kilkelly Ireland, 1880, dear Michael and John, my sons. I'm sorry to give you the very sad news, your dear old mother passed on. We buried her down at the church in Kilkelly, your brothers and Bridget were there. You don't need to worry, she died very quickly, remember her in your prayers. And it's so good to hear that Michael's returning with money sure to buy land. The crop has been poor and the people are selling it any price that they can. Kilkelly Ireland, 1890, my dear and loving son John. I suppose I must be close upon 80, it's 30 years since you've gone. Because of all the money you sent me, I'm still living out on my own. Michael has built himself a fine house, and Bridget's daughters have grown. And thank you for sending your family picture, they're lovely young women and men. You say that he might even come for a visit, what joy to see you again. Just going to take a little break there for a minute, is that okay? Because the last letter is slightly different than the others, but there's a similarity, and I think it's fierce important. Fierce important, there's a nice word. Very important. Well, I like those letters. You mentioned that we went to the cemetery and we sang the song back that first time ever we met at the graveside of Pat McNamara. Pat McNamara is mentioned in the first verse, the first lines of that song. He was a school teacher in a little country school called Tavran. And the first lines of the song says, Kilkelly Ireland, 1860, my dear and loving son John. Your good friend, the schoolmaster, Pat McNamara, is so good as to write these words down. You get the meaning of that. This old man himself was unable to read and write. And he went to the local school teacher, who was a friend of his son's, to ask him to write this letter on his behalf to his son. I think there's an amazing humility in that. To admit that there's something you can't do yourself, but it's so important that it's done, you rise above that. So I imagine that man going down the road to the school teacher, humbling himself, saying, listen, I want to contact my son, but I can't write. Will you write the letter for him? And that's how it began. And that's the graveside we sang the song by all those years ago. The graveside of Pat McNamara. This song is based 100% on fact. As I said, there's poetic license in it, I've no doubt. But it's based on fact. The people are real. Brian Hunt was the name of the man who was writing to his grandson. And the lads who wrote the song were the sons of that man's daughter in America. What I like about these letters, I don't want to labour because I know you're going elsewhere today. There's a lovely pattern in the letters. They start with the date, that is the thing. They start with the address, Kilkelly Ireland. It was technically the place called Orler. Orler is part of the parish. But I suppose that poetic license, as a song I love, Johnny Cash sings a beautiful song with Ireland called The 40 Shades of Green. You probably know that song as well. Beautiful song, and Johnny Cash visited Ireland, and when he went back, having visited, he took out a map of Ireland that he had maybe bought somewhere. And he looked at the map, and he looked at places he had visited, places he had been, but he also looked at names that were probably poetic and musical, and he crafted them in that lovely song, The 40 Shades of Green. But that's for another day. But he crafted them into that. But as I said, the poetic license maybe in the song, the postal address of an Orler, Kilkelly, Ballyhaunis, County Mayo. That had been the postal address. And I suppose musically, Kilkelly Ireland had a flow to it and a ring to it, rather than Orler Ireland or Ballyhaunis Ireland. So Kilkelly Ireland. So that's part of the poetic license. So it starts with the address, starts with the year, a little bit about the family, what's happening at home, a little bit of the news, your sister's getting married in June. And always they finish with the same theme, when are you coming home? Your mother says not to work on the railway, be sure to come on home soon. You say you found work, but you don't say what kind or when you'll be coming home. In the third verse, one of the sons, Michael, is returning. Michael had got in a bit of trouble here, and he went to America for a few years and then came back. So he was sort of pleased in the third verse, that one son was coming home, so he didn't labour the point. He was glad that one was coming back. But in the last verse he says, you say that you might even come for a visit. What joy to see you again. So for 30 years, it's that consistency, that's what you're talking about from that Palm Sunday. I believe, spiritually, that's God speaking to us. We are the Son in America. The man in Kilkelly writing the letters to me is God. And for 2,000 years in Scripture, for 1,000 years beyond that in the Old Testament, God is writing and writing and writing and writing to us saying, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? And that's what it's about, really. So I said I love the consistency of it. The place, the date, a bit about the family, and that invitation to come home. And it would seem that the son never came home. He never returned. And at one level you say, well, wasn't the father wasting his breath for 30 years? But he wasn't, because what I love is that bundle of letters tied together. Not a word that his father had spoken had fallen on deaf ears. I almost see it like the Bible. He reverenced those letters. He didn't shred them, he didn't dump them, he didn't tear them. They were kept one after another, filed. And that's such a wonderful thing, that God is reaching out to us and offering us that message of hope, that message of invitation to come home, come home, come home, come home. And please God, we hear that. So the final verse, when we come to it now, is written not by the father, or not by the school teacher Pat McNamara, but by a brother of the man. And in this letter, I imagine he's writing himself. He has maybe learned the art of writing. But what I love about it is he keeps the theme, and he keeps the tone of his father's letters. And the last verse is slightly different. Kilkelly Ireland, 1892, my dear brother John. Sorry I didn't write sooner to tell you that father passed on. He was living with Bridget. She said he was cheerful and helped me right down to the end. Should have seen him play with the grandchildren of Pat McNamara, your friend. We buried him alongside of Mother down at the Kilkelly churchyard. He was a strong and a feisty old man, considering his life was so hard. And it's funny the way he kept talking about you. He called for you at the inn. Why don't you think about coming to visit? We'd all love to see you again. Why don't you think about coming to visit? We'd all love to see you.